Hi, so this week I'm talking about Jonathan Edwards and excerpts from his Reader. And something I noticed while reading Edwards is he's very focused on the practical and what it looks like to live practically in reality as a Christian, especially during his time period. And something that really stood out to me is his thoughts on joy. Edwards talks about how we should fervently seek after God and after his salvation, and calls his audiences to a very active standpoint. And part of this is because he firmly believes that you cannot have joy without being active. There's so many times when he just calls his readers to seek after the gospel, and he exemplifies that people by their fruits. He's very adamant about that. And I think it's because that finding the joy in Christ that is promised by the gospel can only really come when we are actively looking for it. It seems really unpractical to just sit by and assume that joy is going to come down on me. It's something that should be actively sought. And he writes that the apostles were filled with their joy was filled with glory. It was unspeakable, and he called it glorified joy. And this is part of what he talks about in his religious affections, which affections are something also that's active. You have to affect something or affect yourself. There's this movement that's involved that isn't stagnant, and joy shouldn't be stagnant either. When we act out of joy, we're not stagnant, we're acting. So when we seek joy or when we have joy, it should come from an action as well. This is reflected a lot in Edwards' narrative as well. He talks about how he made seeking after the salvation of God the main priority of his life. And as he describes the transformation in his spiritual walk, there's so much joy, but this joy only came because he was in the midst of a spiritual walk. And I think that really speaks to Christians even today, not just in his own time period. When we have a lot of things as 21st century Americans handed to us and expect joy to come easily, especially since speaking for myself, I'm a middle-class American. I have the privilege to go to college. I have a comfortable living situation. But expecting joy to come just by assuming what's been given to me isn't enough. If I want the joy of Christ, I have to actively seek it out and actively pursue Christ and his salvation. And then joy will come from that, and you'll know the joy of Christ by the fruits. And it's a mysterious fruit, too. You don't always... It's the glorious joy that we can't always, understand in our human terms, but I think that's what makes it so special and so distinguished from all other kinds of happiness that might just be fleeting. So really interesting things and really encouraging words from Edwards to fight for joy in seeking after Christ, because he will bring it to us. And that's all.